6 shocking truths about men who don't post on social media. You've probably noticed him, the man who barely posts. No daily selfies, no endless captions about grind culture, no mysterious motivational quotes over a sunset. He's online, you know he exists, but he's quiet, almost invisible. And that makes you wonder, what's his deal? Is he hiding something? Is he just too cool to care? Or is there something deeper going on? Because here's the truth. Men who stay silent on social media are not all the same, but they share traits that most people completely overlook. And once you understand the psychology behind why some men don't post, you'll see that what looks like mystery is often confidence, discipline, or even pain, depending on the man. So let's peel back the curtain on the men who don't broadcast their lives, and the 6 shocking truths behind their silence. The first truth: he's not looking for validation, and that's rare. Most people use social media like a mirror. They need it to reflect their worth. Every like is a microdose of approval, every comment a little ego massage. But the man who doesn't post doesn't play that game. He's not chasing validation because his self-worth doesn't depend on applause. His confidence comes from within, not from the reaction of strangers, and that's what makes him so different. You won't catch him posting quotes about confidence, he just lives it. When you don't need to prove your value, you don't need to perform it online. That's quiet power. It's unsettling to people who rely on attention to feel seen. The second truth: he's observing, not absent. See, people assume quiet equals disengaged. Wrong. The man who doesn't post is often watching everything, not in a creepy way, but in a strategic way. He studies how people present themselves, how they crave validation, how they overshare. He sees the patterns. And that observation teaches him more about human behavior than any self-help book ever could. He knows who's real and who's performing. He knows which friendships are genuine and which ones only exist for the feed. He's not silent because he's detached. He's silent because he's selective. He understands that in the digital age, the loudest people often have the least to say. Third truth: his priorities are rooted in reality, not reputation. The man who doesn't post lives his life offline. He's building things you can't photograph: discipline, skill, stability, peace. While everyone else is documenting their grind, he's actually grinding. When he's working out, he's not thinking about lighting and angles, he's thinking about progress. When he travels, he's present in the moment, not posing for it. That kind of focus is rare now, because we live in a culture where everyone's chasing optics, looking successful instead of being successful. The man who doesn't post flips that script. He's too busy building the kind of life that doesn't need digital validation. Now, the fourth truth, and this one's surprising: he's emotionally self-contained. This doesn't mean he's cold or unfeeling. It means he processes things privately. When something happens, he doesn't rush to post cryptic messages or quotes about cutting people off. He deals with his emotions in silence. That's not repression, that's maturity. He understands that emotional control is strength. He doesn't need to make a scene to feel heard. He's learned that real peace doesn't need an audience. This kind of emotional discipline intimidates people who thrive on external validation because it's mysterious. You can't tell what he's thinking, and that unpredictability makes him powerful. The fifth truth: he's protecting something valuable: privacy. That's his armor. He understands that the more you share, the more you expose. Your joy, your pain, your plans all become ammunition for people who may not wish you well. A man who doesn't post isn't always shy. Sometimes he's just smart enough to know that peace loves secrecy. He keeps his relationship private because he values it, not because he's hiding it. He keeps his goals quiet because he's focused on execution, not announcement. He knows that when energy is spent trying to prove something, there's less left to actually do it. His silence isn't arrogance, it's strategy. And then there's the sixth truth. He's often underestimated. Because we live in a world where visibility equals importance, people think if you're not posting, you're irrelevant. But that's exactly why the quiet man is so dangerous. You can't predict him, you can't read him, you can't scroll through his timeline and learn his weaknesses. He moves in silence, then appears with results. People underestimate quiet men because they mistake visibility for power. But the truth is, power doesn't need attention. It needs control, and control requires restraint. A man who can resist the pull of social validation has already mastered one of the hardest addictions of modern life, the need to be seen. But here's where it gets deeper. Sometimes a man doesn't post because he's been burned. He's learned the hard way that oversharing invites unnecessary energy, jealousy, judgment, drama. Maybe he's been betrayed by people who used his openness against him. So now he protects his peace like it's gold. Silence becomes his boundary, and make no mistake, silence is a form of communication. It says, "My life is not for your consumption." It says, "I'm not here to perform, I'm here to live." It says, "I'd rather be real than popular." That's rare, and that's exactly why people can't stop wondering about him, because mystery creates magnetism. The less you show, the more they want to know. That's basic human psychology. We're drawn to the unknown. The man who doesn't post becomes a puzzle. You can't label him, you can't predict him, you can't compare him. And that drives people crazy in a world obsessed with transparency. But there's also a darker side. Sometimes a man doesn't post because he's disconnected, not from the world, but from himself. He's in survival mode. He's not trying to be mysterious. He's just tired. Tired of the noise, the comparison, the fake happiness. For some men, silence isn't confidence, it's exhaustion. That's why you can't judge it at face value. A man's relationship with social media reveals his relationship with his identity. Some avoid posting because they're grounded, others because they're lost. The difference is whether the silence feels peaceful or heavy. So how do you tell? Simple. Look at his energy in real life. Does he seem centered, focused, content? That's power. But if he seems detached, cold, unbothered by everything, that's not confidence, that's withdrawal. Both look quiet, but only one is strong. Still, in most cases, men who don't post aren't hiding weakness. They're protecting peace. They've realized that mystery is leverage, that the best parts of life, love, growth, success, healing, don't need to be broadcast to be real. They don't need digital witnesses. They're building something too sacred for display. And that's the shocking truth most people never grasp. Silence can be strength. Privacy can be power. The man who doesn't post isn't out of the game. He's just playing it differently. While everyone else is busy proving, he's busy becoming. You might not see his every move, but trust me, he's moving. Quietly, intentionally, and in a way that'll speak louder than any post ever could, because sometimes the most powerful statement a man can make is to say nothing at all.